Welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur. Here we are again. Amud Yomi, Avos Shalom B'Shemesh. Here we go. Bava Metzia. It's a new parak. We just started it yesterday, so everyone can still join in. Ein Vav Amud Aleph. The line starts with the word Toiv Mi Be'olav. It's about the bottom third of the page, and the Shiur starts with the word Pshita. Yeah, Pshita I Omar Lei. Pshita. That's the word. That's the name. That's the game. And we are learning Leilu Nishmas Ovi Moira Menachem Ben Akiva Rus Bas Shalom Sorbas Moshe Lerefuas Chaim Ben Sete Lerefuas Norman Crow Lerefuas Lebas Et Lechai Lebas Tomo and Lehatzlochas Chen Bas Yordena Yosef Gavril Ben Malta Shua Shlema. Shita, let's summarize yesterday. We definitely have to summarize what we saw yesterday. Yesterday we saw a Mishnah. The Mishnah said that if workers misled each other, all they can do is nothing. They can just feel bad about each other. What does it mean? The Gemara explained that we're talking over here about a Baal Bais, a person who wants work done, let's say work in his field, and he asked one person, call him the agent. He asked an agent, he asked the person who himself is a worker, and is also like a macher, and he asked the Baal Bais, asked the agent, get me workers and get them for me for X amount of money. But that person told them a different amount of money. Why amount of money? Then we can say that they can only feel a grudge. They don't really have a claim in Beis Din towards this person. How would that be? We basically said four, which are really two different cases. Either the Baal Bais originally told the agent, I want to hire them for 4 zuz a day, yeah, and then the agent told him, no, it's going to be 3. He never told them about the 4. Then they go, the Baal Bais gives them 3, and they find out that originally Baal Bais wanted to give them 4. That makes them very upset because they say, oh, Baal Bais, we don't have any claim against you because you never said, right? You never said 4, you said 3. And Baal Bais and then don't really have any claim, but they can feel very grudge. They can feel like a taroimus, like a bad feeling because they say, Al tim natov me be'olav. You originally planned, you budgeted 4 per person, and really it's not 4, it's really 3, and you did mean to give us more, you could have done better. So we say, no. We say that's all you can feel, but there's no claim in Beis Din. Now, the other way is, let's say Baal Bais told the person, the agent is going to give 3, and then he promised them castles in the air. He told them, the agent told the workers 4. At the end of the day, how disappointing, and this is something real, only 3. They got only 3 and not 4. So, of course, they feel bad, but they cannot take him to Beis Din. Why not? Because the Baal Bais only said 3. The Baal Bais never said 4. Now, the agent said 4. If the agent really said 4 and I'm responsible for you paying for the, I will be the one to take care of your salary, then he has to pay them because the Imamish promised, and that's the possible the Kenyan too. So the agent has to pay them. But if he didn't, then they can only feel bad about Baal Bais that didn't give them. I would say they would feel, bad towards the agent and say, the agent, you promised us 4, while the Baal Bais, only told you 3, so you misled us. They say we could have done, even if the going rate is 3, they said we could have gone to somebody else who does offer 4. Some people offer us 4, or they say we did a better job. We did a 4 work, not 3 work. So if you can prove they did a 4 zuz worth of work, better quality work, then it can really take him to Beis Din and say, look how we painted the wall. That's not a $300 job, it's a $400 job, if they can prove it. If they cannot prove it, then a motzim chaveroi, and then they can just feel bad, they can bear a grudge, nothing more than that. By the way, I'm not saying bear a grudge forever. I mean, a Torah is allowed to have some kind of bad feelings, which halachically otherwise is not allowed. Wow. Let's continue. Pshita. Now we're going to have a very interesting development, and today we're going to learn about also the halachos, connect this sugya, the halachos of Gittin. See how that connects. Pshita. Yeah. What is simple to us? What do we understand? What do we know? I omer leBaal Bais bitloso. Let's say Baal Bais says to who? To the agent, I want to hire people for 3 zuz a day. Come work, till the earth, work the field, plow the earth, or paint my nice house for 3 zuz a day. V'ozel iu omer lehu barbo. He went, that kochalefale, that agent working a little bit on his own mind, he says to them, come work for 4. The Amri, now listen to what they tell him. Those workers use ambiguous loshon. When they respond to his work offer, what do they say? They say, we agree to whatever the balabais said. Which means they didn't really say, we are willing to work for 4, and they didn't say 3. They did not mention a number. That would help you, what you asked me yesterday. Yeah, if they clearly said, we agree to 3, the 1, 3, we agree to 4, everybody can count till 4, then they mean 4. In this case, they were a little bit ambiguous, and they said, we agree to whatever the Balabai says. What does it mean? There are 2 ways to interpret what they say. One, with pshita, it's simple, that if the Balabai said 3, and the agent said 4, and they said whatever the Balabai said, the Atayu Ailuya, they surely mean to say the higher price, which means you said 4, we trust you to probably be loyal to what the Balabais told you. And when you say 4, we assume you're presenting a Balabais fairly, and we assume it's 4. And if the Balabais, I would call him the shadow man behind, they don't know what the Balabais said. They didn't hear a recording, right? If Albais would say less, of course they're not going for less. They're going for more. They're going for 4. And then what? And then if the oil, the agent is responsible, and in the end of the day, they can get the meager minji 3, they'll ask the agent, you're responsible. And if the agent did not say he's responsible, they're just going to feel a grudge. We agreed to 4, yeah, and really, yeah, you are not really nice to us. You promised us 4. We could have done better. Ella, what is the question then? When do we have ambiguity? And by the way, the idea is they would never go for less. I didn't explain that. When he says 4 and the shadow person behind the Balbai said 3, they for sure don't mean 3. Because had they know the Balbai says less, people never want to be paid less. People never want to lose, right? Unless there's some kind of big Baal Musa, which most of us are not. So they mean whatever you say. You say 4. Had they known the Balabai said 3, of course they go for the 4, right? Ella, the problem is the other way around. Ella, line starts with the word Ella. We're towards the end of the Ein Vav Amud Aleph, line starts with the word Ella. Ella, however, now comes the question. The other way around. Balbais is generous, promising generous 4. The Ozaliu Omalu Betloso, and he is now lowering the price for whichever reason. He says to them 3. The Amri, now they again, the Paulim respond by not mentioning a number. They say, Kemashamar Balabais, whatever the Balbais says is good with us. Whatever you say, boss, what does that mean? What do they mean? Now, Balabais said more, and the agent who speaks to them verbally, physically, saying 3. What do they mean when they say whatever Balabais said, knowing that the agent is possibly representing Balabais? They also know that some agents are swindlers. So, what did they mean by those ambiguous words? Adibur didei kasamchi. Do they rely on who? On the agent, the Amri, and what they mean to say Balabais, they mean to say Amri lay, what they mean to tell him is Mehem and Aslan Dachim Balabais. We trust you that that's what Balabais said, but they really want 4. Yeah. In other words, we trust you. You look like a nice, you're a friend of ours. You're also a poel. We believe you that that's what Balabais said. So at the end of the day, they say, yes, we agree that it's 4 because he's offering them 3, I'm sorry. They agreed to 3 because he told them 3. We assume you're saying what Balbai says, so it's 3. Or Dilma, or maybe at the board of Balbais Kasamchi. Since here the shadow person behind Balbais is offering more, maybe here they mean to say, we rely on whatever Balbais says, not on what you say. We're a little bit suspicious of you, mister, and we think that maybe, we don't know, whatever you say, whatever Balabais says. And Balabais really said 4. That's the question. In other words, it's not just about numbers. The question is the conceptual question, which we're going to see soon about a get of a woman. And the question again is as follows. When a shaliach, an agent, a representative, supposedly representative, is talking on behalf of a Balabais, giving you numbers, giving you facts, soon you're going to see it's not only about numbers. And you respond to him, and you're supposed to play your part in the game in a halachic story. and you say, I agree to whatever Balbai says, do you mean to say, I agree that you are saying the truth and I agree with what you say? Or are you being smarter one step ahead and you say, whatever Balbai says, which means whatever the original person says, I'm willing to go along with, which is not necessarily what you're saying. I'm being more suspicious. That's a question. It's a concept of question of how when people respond to a shliach and say whatever balabais, do they follow the shliach's words or do they keep in mind we agree to whatever balabais says and not necessarily you? That's the concept that we're dealing with now. And from here, we're going to have a huge leap into Gittin. There's a sugya in Gittin and Daf, I think, Samech Beis, where over there is a similar question. Question time, yeah. Okay, Toshma. Here we want to compare this to a get. We definitely need to have a nice little introduction over here before we continue to talk about Gittin. We all know that the way that a get, a Jewish divorce document, the way it works is how a man has to give the document into the hands of his wife or into her possession. Ideally, normally, it's never ideal, but ideally, he should give her the get into her hands. It has to be from his end, leyodo. Leyodo, it has to be into her hand, straight into her hand like that. He has to give her the get. Venostan beyodo sefer krisus. Okay? He gives it to her hand. Now, what happens if the husband lives in Tel Aviv and the woman lives in Haifa? That's kind of far away, and he doesn't want to travel to Haifa. She doesn't want to travel to Tel Aviv. They don't want to see each other anymore, right? From some odd reason. So then the Torah says, the Torah doesn't say outright, but actually we learn from the Torah for the word v'sholach, you can employ a shaliach, a messenger, and it's one of the classical cases that in the Torah, which is the source of the concept of shlichus. That you remember, very very important. There are two separate, completely distinguished types of shlichim. There's a shlich of the husband to give the get, and the shlich of the wife to, excuse the pun, to get the get, to receive the get. One of them is called shliach hoilocho. Shliach hoilocho is the husband's long arm, which means the husband says, you, my friend, Mr. Shliach Shlichalovsky, you come, you go from, where does the husband live? In Tel Aviv, right? Yeah, you go now. I'm giving you the get. Where? To the shliach. You are my long hand. And then you get to Haifa by the train station, by Beis Din, wherever, you give it to my wife, to her own hand, and it's as if I, with my long arm, who's my long arm? My shliach, you give the get to her hand. That shliach, hoilocho, leholich, to take. Yeah? Now, what about her? She can do the same the other way around. She can appoint a shliach kabbalah. She can appoint a shliach and say, I'm busy. I don't want to see the face of this guy. I'm staying in my workplace in Haifa. And what? And I'm appointing a shliach to go to Tel Aviv, and he will receive the get from me. Now, the shliach, which is her long arm, is going to Tel Aviv, where the husband lives. And when the husband gives him the shliach to the hands of the husband, no. The husband gives the get to the hands of the shliach Kabbalah. At that happy moment, she's divorced. She's in Haifa, proxy, Wi-Fi, technology. Yeah, she's in Haifa, I don't know, playing with the kids in her gan, whatever she does. And that very moment, when her shliach, which is her halachic long arm, received the get in a different town in Tel Aviv, then at that moment, it's as if she's divorced because the shliach is her long arm, because it's shliach Kabbalah, shliach of reception, of receiving, of getting. So far, so good. That now, obviously, and I would say needless to say, but I will say it, only the husband can appoint a shliach hoilocho, right? Because it's his power. The Ktsos explains the shliach is your halachic power, and she is the only one. Nobody else can do it. She's the only one in the world that can appoint a shliach kabbalah, right? So far, these are just the dry facts. Once we know these facts, things will be easier to understand, and we're going to see a case here, and we'll attempt to compare it to our case about shlichim in our own sugya. Now, says the Gemara, yeah, Toshma, Haveligiti, a woman asked the shliach to do something a little bit out of the box. She asked the shliach, bring me my get. What does that mean? How can she ask the shliach, bring me my get? Basically, she asked the shliach to do as follows. I'm not interested in you being my shliach Kabbalah. I want to get the get myself. I want to have the fun. of getting the get into my own hands in Haifa. So what's the shlichus? What is she appointing? Ask my dear or not so dear husband, my about to be ex-husband, ask him to appoint you to be a shliach hoilocha. Understand? She wants the shliach. We won't call him a name. He's the shliach. The shliach. I want you to bring me my get. Tell my husband to what? To make you shliach hoilocha. I want you to be my husband's long arm. I cannot do that. Ask my husband to make you a long arm shliach for me, and then I expect you to be here in, I don't know, in 4 hours' time and bring me the get into my hands. That's what she was planning. She's a balabais in this case, and she's appointing a shliach. We can a little bit begin to see the similar points, similarities. However, the shliach again messed up. What did the shliach do? And now he comes to Tel Aviv. He goes to Tel Aviv to speak to the husband, and he says, "The ishtecha omra iskabeli giti." This shliach, I'll tell you, the end of the sugya, I'll cheat. The shliach is lazy. The shliach doesn't want to go now all the way back to Haifa. He wants to stay in Tel Aviv and go to Bnei Brak and do stuff over there. And he says to the husband, you know, your wife made me a shliach Kabbalah. He says, hello, my name is shliach. I'm your wife's long arm. I'm your wife's shliach Kabbalah. And give me the get into my hand. And now, boom, she'll be Megoreshes. I'm her long arm. Once you put the get in my hand right here in the Tel Aviv base deal, boom, I'm her shliach, so I'm long arm. Once the get is manned, it's good enough. He's basically completely changing from the words of the woman. Now the husband's not stupid. The husband now is saying as follows: Hu oimer. How did the husband respond to that interesting idea? Heilach kimoshe omro. Oh, I'll give you the get the way she said, similar to the poalim in our sugya, right? In other words, he's suspiciously saying, whatever she said, I'll do. That was all his life. He always did what she said. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the other way around. Yeah, as we said yesterday. Kimasha Amra, I'll give you the get whichever conditions she stipulated, whatever she said. Oh, again, it's not so simple. Let's pause now and think. Does it mean to say, I trust you that that's what she said? And that's bad news, because she didn't. He's changing the words of the woman, right? He's saying, I trust you that that's what she said, meaning, and you'll be the shliach Kabbalah, and the second the get is in your hand, boom, it's shizmu gracious, and that's not good. Or maybe he meant to say, I trust whatever she said. I'm willing to go along with whatever she said, and therefore the husband is now making him what? A shliach hoilocha, to be the husband's long arm, and will only be gracious should be when it gets to her hands in Haifa. So what do you see? What's the halacha over there? Omar Rav Nachman, Omar Abba Baravua, Omar Rav, afilu egia get liyoda en megoreshes. Wow, no. Even if the get reached her hand, she's not megoreshes. Why not? If he's a shliach hoilocha, the get reached her hands. He went back by train, the first train to Haifa. Yeah, he went, got off, gave her a get. She's not megoreshes. Why not? Yeah, shmas. If we'd say that the husband follows whatever she said, yeah, then he's doing good. Then he's a shliach hoilocha, and when she got it, she got it. But why do we see that he's not at all a shliach? Shmas mino. We can derive from here a dibur didei kasomich. Oh, we see that it is relying on the shliach's words, and the shliach's words are messed up. The shliach's own words are a lie or a mistake or whatever. The shliach's own words are what? That I'm a shliach Kabbalah. Really, he's a shliach hoilocha. Supposed to be, right? And the husband, yeah, and the woman cannot make him shliach halacha, and the husband can't make him shliach Kabbalah. In other words, he's relying on the bad words of the shliach. Oh, so we see from here when the person says whatever Babai says, he doesn't mean to say whatever the shadow behind you says. We see that he means to say, I trust you, foolishly so, naively so. He trusted what the shliach says. Since he trusted the shliach, it's a messed up job. Why? Because really, yeah, he's saying whatever, I trust you that you're a shliach Kabbalah. He's not a shliach Kabbalah. Nobody made him shliach Kabbalah. He's not a shliach. He's like the air. You have to understand something, which I'm sure you understand, but just make it clearer. If I send my not my get, if somebody sends a get with a robot, somebody sends a get with some kind of Wi-Fi new technology at Tesla, it doesn't help. It has to be halachic shlichus with a shliach and the man and the woman all having in mind, what's going on, right? So if the shliach is not a halachic shliach, Even though he physically took the get and gingerly went on the train and went to Beis Din Chefa, he doesn't help. He's not halachic shliach because we trust his lie, his wrong words, the Baal, and therefore she's never aggressive by that get. You need a new get. Maybe get it back to the Baal. I don't know. And continues the Gemara and says the Gemara proves the point, what I already told you before. If we say then when he says das balabais means I trust whatever she says, that's good. Because why? What did she say? She said, I want not so dear husband to do what? To give the get to him as a shliach, to make the shliach into the husband's long arm, and then when I get it to Haifa, then I'll get it. Had we followed her script, her idea, that would be a good get, at least when she got it, because that's what she wants. Why is it a non-get completely? Because there's a disconnection between the meshalachas, the woman, and the shliach. And the husband falls into that, naively fell into that. That's why it's not shlichus. One thing we see clearly from here, which is negat to us and the poilim of the business, is what? We clearly see that when the poilim say we are interested in whatever Balabai says, they mean to trust the agent in front of them, not the shadow behind. And they say, you agent, we trust you. And therefore, in this case, well, Balabai said 4, and they said 3, they mean 3, and they have no complaints anymore, except a bit of a grudge. We could have got better because you promised us more. That's what the Gemara wants to say. Amar Ravashi, comes Ravashi, and Ravashi wants to question that right from the root. Amar Ravashi, says Ravashi wants to break the comparison between get and our story. Amar Ravashi, Hachi Hashta, is that the same? Whenever the Gemara says Hachi Hashta means, is it the same? Is it the same thing? Hachi Hashta, you know that? Hachi Hashta means words that come to differentiate and break a comparison. Yeah? Is it the same? Bishlama, I would have understood, itmar ipcha, had it said the other way around. Let's say there would be an opposite story, then I accept that you can learn from the story of Gittin to our story. What would be the other way around? Iskabeli Gitti. Let's say a woman says to the shliach, Iskabeli Gitti, the other way around. I want you to be shliach kabbalah. New story. She's still in Haifa, working in the Gan. She's in Haifa. Very nice. She's asking the shliach, I don't want to see the get, feel the get, hear the get. No. Be my shliach Kabbalah. Please travel to Tel Aviv. I'll pay you something. Get the get for me. Be my long arm. Be my shliach Kabbalah. Okay? That's what she wants. And now he is lying the other way. Comes the shliach and tells the husband the opposite story. He likes to travel by train. He wants to go back to her. The Ishtecha Omra comes the shliach and tells the husband, sorry, your wife said, Haveli Giti, bring me my get, which means your wife said that you should make me your long arm, your shliach hoilocha. Yeah? That's what your wife wants. Okay. In other words, he's doing more. She asked him just to receive the get as her long arm, and once the husband puts it in his hand, she's divorced. But he told the husband the other way around. Please, your wife said you should make me shliach hoilocha. You put the get in my hand, and you should not yet divorced. I'm now your long arm all the way to the train station and the train and going to the Beis Din. Only then, when I give it to her hands, into her hands, then she'll be divorced. That's what the shliach says. That's his story. And let's say was that kind of change the other way around. The hu oimer comes the husband and says, "Elach moshe omra veisach nisht." Whatever she said, take it whichever way she said it. And then let's say in that case, the Omar of Nachman, Omar Abba Barvu Omar Rav, had Rav Nachman on behalf of Rabbi Barvu Omar Rav would have said, Mishegia get liyo doi megureshes. Let's say would say, once the get hit his hand of the shliach, she's megureshes, meaning we follow what she said. That's what she wanted, right? She wanted in this case that the shliach would be her hand, and in the Tel Aviv Beis Din, boom, it's in his hand by Wi-Fi, by proxy, she's megureshes. Alma, then it was derived from that dibur dida kasamich. He realized on the woman's words when he says whatever the woman says, he means whatever the woman says, not what you say. And that's his das. So therefore, it says, okay, I don't have to make any shlichus here. I'm giving it to someone whom I want you to be like my wife wants you to be, meaning shliach kabbalah. I put it in your hand, boom, and she's megoreshes. Then we know we can derive from there. We can deduce from there that really the husband goes with what the Meshalacha says. Inami, or let's say the other way. Let's say he would have said the other way. Mishigia get leyodo megoreshes. Let's say the halacha would have been that once it reached her hand, only then she's megoreshes. Meaning, what did the husband do actually? The husband made him into shliach hoilocha. The husband made him into his long arm and made him be, the one that goes all the way. Once it reaches her hand, she's divorced. If that would be in the halacha, then we'd know the other way around. Then would say, we rely on what the shliach says. The shliach changed the words of the wife, and the shliach works on his own behalf. And the shliach is basically asking the husband, please make me shliach hoilocha, make me your long arm, make me your shliach. Givaldik, the husband can do that. You may be mixed, you may be a bit confused now. Basically, the Gemara wants to say that it would have been a very good comparison to get in either one way or the other. Now comes the attack. Ella, the Gemara is now starting to really talk. Ella, Hossam, you compared it to the wrong case. You compared it to a case of what? To a case in which the woman said, come back to me all the way and be a shliach hoiloch of the husband to give it to me. And the shliach was lazy and says, no, I want to be her shliach kabbalah. Once you plunk it in my hands, then she's megoreshes. There's a different reason why we say it's not a good get. You know why? The shliach disconnected himself and he's not interested in being the kind of shliach that she wants because he's lazy. He doesn't want to travel back to Haifa as a shliach hoilocha. He wants to stay in Tel Aviv and have fun as a shliach kabbalah and just receive it dead. The Omer l'shliach, he says, the shliach to the husband, shliach lekabbalah havina. I'm only willing to be shliach kabbalah lehoilocha loy havina. I'm not willing to be a shliach hoilocha, which means, let me explain to you. Up until now, we did not read the mind of the shliach, right? We only read the mind. We're trying to have a brain scan, a brain CT of what? An ultrasound of what? Of the brains of the husband or the brains of the poalim, the brains of the people who receive a dubious shliach, right? Do they mean whatever you say or do we mean whatever the person behind you said, right? That's the question. You could have compared very nicely Gittin to us, very nice as we said before. However, this particular case does not reflect anything. Why? Because when the woman says, I want you to be shliach, what? A shliach of hoilocha. Get my husband to appoint you a shliach. You'll be my husband's long arm. Okay. Fine. I'm sorry, that was Zoom's okay, a Zoom mishap again. I hope it doesn't happen that often. Okay, should happen at all. So again, in this case, the shliach himself is not willing to be a shliach hoilocha, only a shliach kabbalah. In other words, when you appoint a shliach, this way or the other, the shliach is not a robot, the shliach is not a monkey, and the shliach is not mentally ill. The shliach is somebody who wants to agree to the shlichus. Here he disagrees. That's a problem. When the shliach says, I'm only willing to be, her shliach, not the way she wants, to receive the get, and I'm not willing to take it back to her as a shliach hoilocha. Therefore, in this case, the shliach himself is minimizing the options. He's telling us, that's it. The only option I'm giving you is I'm receiving the get, and goodbye, I'm going to Tel Aviv. I'm not doing anything further than that. That's why in this case, clearly, the shliach cannot be a shliach. Whatever he does, even if he goes to her and goes to Haifa, goes by the train, doesn't make a difference because he's not a shliach. He disconnected himself from her by disobeying what she said and disconnecting from the husband. Because even if the husband wants to make him a shliach hoilocha, like let's say, like the woman said, like both men and women want, but he doesn't want. He doesn't want. He's not willing to be a shliach hoilocha. He's also side in the story. That's why in this case we say it's not a good get. The shliach, in very simple English, messed up. He's disconnecting himself from the story. And therefore we say over there, oh, that's why it doesn't work. But regarding our case, It's still an open-ended question. When you have a balabais and a shliach and poelim, the dynamics there are still a question. Do we follow in such a case? Do we say that the poelim agree to what the shliach says, or do they agree and say whatever the balabais said to you is really what we agree? It still remains a question. Okay, weiter. Let's continue now to a whole. Yeah, okay. So, now a whole new thing, new old. Basically, what did we say before? We explained the very first line in the Mishnah. The line was, right? The person hired craftsmen and they misled each other. What did we explain? Misled each other doesn't mean that there's an issue between the balabais and the poyalim. There's an issue between one poyal, the agent, and all his friends. That's what said till now. Now we come to offer an alternative shot. Hi Tana chozru nami hitu karilei. Our Tana, when it says the word chozru, the word hitu, misled, may also mean chazru, which means maybe they just backed off, they stood him up, they just didn't come to work, or he fired them before they even started. That could mean that too. In other words, a regular case of hitu, which means they basically did not continue with the agreement. Tanya, it says in the Brisa, Asercher seumnin, the hitu es balabais. Oh, you see clearly that the word hitu means what? Means that they misled who? Somebody else, the balabais. The balabais hit oison. It's a bad relationship, some kind of short circuit between balabais and the poilim, not between the poilim and within the poilim themselves, inner politics. Not like we said before. Which means basically the story is as follows. Balabais told the poilim on Sunday, come work for me, and work in my land, paint my house, and then on Monday he backed out, revoked, changed his mind. Okay, and the poilim can just complain and grunt, but they don't have any claim in Beis Din. And the other way around, they tell the balabais on Mondays and send the WhatsApp, we're not coming. We found a better job. We're on our way to a nice holiday in Cyprus. We won the lottery yesterday. We're not coming to do the work. He can only feel bad about it, but not really have any big claim in Beis Din. But Metzia continues the Brisa. When is that true? Shaloi holchu, which means, let's say they got that WhatsApp of you. I'm not interested in your work. When did they get it? Shachris, when they were rolling their tefillin. But aval hol, they didn't yet get to the field, to the place where they're supposed to do the work. Aval holchu chamorim v'lo motzutua. Let's say these people are donkey drivers, like van drivers today. Donkey drivers, they went to the place where they're supposed to take some wheat and carry and schlep wheat from one place to the other. They didn't find the wheat. They already got to the place of work where they're supposed to be working. They didn't find it there. Poyalin, shilacha. The poyalin already went to the field 1 kilometer away from town. They went to the field where they were supposed to work on Monday. And what do they see? It's all wet and not workable. It's not workable land, not arable. You can't work there, which means the job was canceled basically after they already took the step and go to the place of work. Then they have to. He has to give them full salary. In other words, if they didn't start working, they didn't travel to the point where they're supposed to work, then only have taroimis. They can only have claim. You're not being nice. You're not fair. We don't like you. But nothing more than that. If they really started to work, they got to the place and they see there's no work, then he has to pay them in full. However, what do you mean full? They didn't really do work. Aval, there's full payment and there's full payment, not full payment. Which means, as we always say, there's a concept of poil botel. A person who comes back with an empty truck or an empty donkey does a much easier work than a person who comes with a donkey laden and charged with a lot of wheat, right? Or a person who sits in the field for a whole day smoking a cigarette, because by the way, Tosfos says they cannot find any other work anymore today. Poilim always work in the morning, right? That's when they're being hired. So now they can't find any other work, but they're not. So it's really his fault. But they're not working hard in the field, right? What are they doing? Sitting, they're not doing anything, complaining about balabais. But hey, wait a second. how much would you be willing, to pay for having a vacation? They're really having a vacation. That day they sit in the field or went back home without doing anything. So we don't pay them full wages. We pay them the amount of money that a poil would be willing to take in order to sit and not do anything. How much would you pay back to your boss in order to have a very, very easy day at work? I pay him something, part of my salary. That is what they're being paid, not full payment. Now comes another Bemed Vor Memorim. Now comes another exception to the rule, not regarding poilim, but regarding kablonim. Remember what we said yesterday? What's a poil and what's a kablan? A poil is a worker paid per hour, per day, per time. A kablan gets paid per project, per sewing a dress, weaving the fabric, or doing something. For that, he gets paid. Now we are qualifying, minimizing the case of what? Of a kablan. When is it that the kablan, I ordered someone into my house to make for me tailor-made, custom-made suit. Wow, he's such a fancy tailor, fashion designer for men. I want him to come to my house and sew me a suit for $5,000. Okay, so now what? And then I call him and say, no, don't come. He didn't yet come to my house. He didn't come to the scene of work, to the scene of crime. So then, lo hischilu b'melocha, as long as they didn't start working. By the way, here it doesn't say they didn't come to the place. It says they didn't start working. As long as the uman who doesn't get paid for his time, he gets paid for his work, for his creation, as long as he did not start the creation, then he can bear a grudge against me or I against him if he stopped short. The Seder. Let's say he started weaving, he started sewing, he started planting, he started doing, and it's a project. Shomin lahen masha osu. Then we don't pay them nothing. We sham, in other words, we assess and pay them for the part that they did. Yeah? As opposed to what you said yesterday, with all the respect, when a person does half a job, I wanted him to paint my entire house. He painted half a house and left. Yeah? I'm supposed to pay him for the half. Yes. That job he did. Is he a nice guy? No. Maybe at an oiness. I don't know. It doesn't make a difference. At the end of the day, I pay him for what he did. And for the other half, I have to find somebody else. We discussed that. So let's say it's either my fault or their fault. Actually, it doesn't make a difference in this regarding this. If they sewed, they sewed half the jacket, half the whatever, the custom, I have to pay them for half. Now the question is, what happens if they have to find new poilim? Ketzal, let's just get to that part. Kiblu kama likzo b'shnei sloim. A person wants the workers to come to his field, and what does he want them? You have here, 2 kilometers full of wheat and barley. Your job is to harvest and cut, and reap the entire thing. For how much? 2 sloim. I'm not paying for your time. You can do it in 2 minutes with some, new technology, or you can do it for 2 days. I don't care. All I care is about the job you do. The job you do, you get for that shnei sloim. Very nice. Kotzru chetzia. Yeah, how many kilometers are there? 2, let's say, for 2 sloim. Let's say, to make it clearer, they harvested 1 kilometer and then went home. Then kotzru chetzia, venichu chetzia. 1 kilometer they did. What about the other half? We're going home. Done. Now, they're not allowed to go home in the middle because not poilim. A poil that's paid per hour, every hour is a new agreement, is allowed to go home in the middle. And uman kablan is not allowed to go in the middle, and they did. Yeah? Or another example, beged leroig, you're supposed to, lotz leroig, to weave fabric, b'shnei sloim. I want you to be oireg, to weave, 2 meters of fabric for 2 sloim. Ogu chetzioi, venichu chetzioi. They wove half and left behind half. Yeah, weft and warp like that, loose. Shomin lens masha osu. Then we assess and we give them whatever they did, the half they did. Now comes the story of the Mishnah again. Now I'm left behind, I'm left high and dry with how much? I have half a field to harvest. I'm stuck. I have half a jacket to sew. I'm stuck. What's going to be now? I have to find new workers to do the job, as we had that case in the Mishnah of Yodam ala Tachtoino. Our Tana disagrees with the Tana of the Mishnah, as we're going to see now. Shisha dinorim, which means how many dinorim are in one selah? 4. One sela contains 4 dinorim. They did the work worth how much? They did 1 sela. Very nice. 4 dinorim. I gave them with a sad face, unless I'm a big Baal Musar. Yeah, grumpy face. You did half the job. Take 1 sela, go home. Now the other half, I have new workers who come, and the new workers say, for half a job? No, we're not going to do this for a sela. We're going to do it for 6 dinarim, for a sela and a half. Oh, so now I am left, what? Having to pay, instead of 2 sloim for the whole job, I have to pay 2 sloim and a half. 1 sela to those characters, and a sela and a half for the new guys. Who's going to absorb the loss? So in the Mishnah, we said it's a first worker. This Tana disagrees with it. Noisan lehen sela, he gives them full sela. Wow. He gives them full sela, and to the other people, the new guys, he still gives a sela and a half. We're not going to reasons right now, but this Tana does not believe Yodam al-Tachtoina, even though they messed up in the middle. A Kablan is allowed to what? To really go out in the, he's not allowed to, excuse me, go out in the middle of the day because it's a Kablan. Nevertheless, they don't lose. Or we say, okay, obviously they can finish their melacha and get 2 sloim, meaning even if the prices went up. Here's the chiddush, rabbis. Let's say between one half and the other half, there is a raise in price of the minimum wages. People started taking more between Sunday and Monday. Sunday night, there's big news all over the internet and the radio and everywhere that the price of workers went up. They have to stick to the old price. If I said you're getting for the whole work shnei sloim, you can't say, oh, on Monday our work became more expensive. No, you have to be set to how you started. And that's in the case where they did not mess him up. Yeah, you come, you stay and do the job and get it to sloim. The im sela, noisan lem sela. If the agreement was 1 sela, he gives them 1 sela. The Gemara later will say, what's the chiddush? Obviously, if they agreed on 1 sela, they're going to get 1 sela. It's a question, well, what's the new thing here? The Gemara will discuss it. Rabbi Doisa is our friend, meaning Rabbi Doisa agrees to the Mishnah. And Rabbi Doisa says, no, I don't have to lose because of their shvindlerai and their messing me up and standing me up. We have to be sham the entire job together to the workers who left in the middle. If all in all, you did the job of 1 sela, prices went up, now if I need new workers now, I'll have to pay 1.5, which means 6 dinorim altogether, not 4 dinorim the stella and half, 6 dinorim. If so, I say, I'm sorry, no, noisen shekel are 2 dinorim, yeah? I'll give you half a stella, which means you have to absorb the difference. The new workers will take sela and a half because people don't work for less than that on Monday, and you'll only get half a sela, not the whole sela, because you guys have to absorb my loss because you stood me up. Beim sela, noisan lem sela, as we said before, that we'll explain later. What's the chiddush? Sela for sela. B'medvo amurim. Oh, another exception to the rule. The davar she'en ovud. Yeah, what's davar she'en ovud? It's not an urgent job. Let's say my daughter's chasana is in 2 months' time. To sew that suit takes only a day or 2. So mimela, it's not a davar ovid. In other words, they messed me up when leaving in the middle. Nobody says it's a nice thing to do, but it's not something time sensitive and urgent that has to be done today. Then we say up until now we were okay with that up to a point. Let's say now, what happens if this is something that needs to be done now? What's the example I always give? The band at the wedding, his daughter is getting married. She's in the hall with a white dress. Where's the band? On the way to Cyprus on a holiday. The chasna is tonight. You can't come say we're coming from Cyprus in 2 days' time. The daughter will be already 2 days married. Yeah, what's going on there? Yeah, bedover ovud. Then we treat them much harsher. Soicher len oimatan. He either can get other people for more money. In other words, yeah, let's say the band is willing to play at your daughter's wedding for 5,000 shekels an evening, right? And now last minute, the chasna is starting. Nobody's going to come from a moment to the next moment for 5,000. The new band, which I ad hoc quickly have to get, is going to charge 7,000. Then what will I do? Pay 7,000 to the new band, and they, when they come back from Cyprus, they'll have to pay me 7,000. Yeah. they'll pay for what I lost because it's their fault. It's dover oved, and it stood me up a moment between the right before the moment of truth. Oy maton. What's maton? How could he actually mislead them legally and it's allowed? Ketzad matan. How can he mislead them legally? How is that? Omer lehen. You can tell them, selakatzat stilachem. He's on the phone. Yeah. Oh, we're not interested in coming to your job. We prefer going on holiday. Oh, I'm so sorry. He's smart. Oh, I told you to come and work and do my field for one seller. Bo vitlush time. Oh, come take double the amount. I promise you $1,000. Come take 2,000. They're quickly hopping the plane from Cyprus for 2,000. They would come. How much would he pay them in the end? 1,000. Is he lying? In Ikesh, yet is patol. With an Ikesh, with somebody who's a liar, Ikesh is not a liar. Somebody who's a liar, you say, hey, that's what you can do. They are obligated to me, but over of it, to work for how much? For one seller, in order to get them to do what they are mechuyev to do, which is what? Which is two, which is one. I told them come for two, and really they'll get one. The ad kama soicher alehen. Yeah, ad kama soicher alehen adar boim v'chamishim zuz. Wow, unbelievable. Yeah, ad kama soicher alehen, which means, let's say the new band or the new workers charge more, and I would get the new workers and get them, those who stood me up, to pay for that. Up to what? Up until 40 or 50 zuz. Okay, that we're going to see more tomorrow about all these details. But basically, you're allowed to take other workers who will do the job, and they'll have to absorb a very, very high loss, a high payment they have to pay. But I prefer continuing tomorrow. We can okay, let's just finish one more line and explain it better tomorrow because that's the end of the brisa. Now, Bamed Vormamurim, another exception to the rule. When is it true that when they stand me up, I can do whatever I want because it's dover of it? Is man she'en shem poelim liskor. It's only true if there's no alternative, no other poelim to do the work instead of them. Aval yesh shem poelim liskor. Let's say they stood me up, but there are other workers who'll do the job for the same price. The omat sells chom elu. And they say, okay, we are in Cyprus, but we know Shimon and Levi, they can do the job just as good as us. And then it's only Toroimis. Yeah, they said, we're going to come. And they call and they say, sorry, we're not coming, but we have other people who can do the job as well as we do. Then it's a bit of a Toroimis. We'll see tomorrow why it's a Toroimis. But it's not a real claim because really they offered him somebody else instead of them. They offered an alternative, then it's better. Okay, that last point will be explained better tomorrow, Metzia Hashem. We also have a Toysus to see. Remind me tomorrow. Toysus here asks a good question. We may look at Toysus tomorrow. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for everybody in Torah Anytime YouTube and for everybody here in the room. Thank you to our new participant, Rabbi Yaakov. And Hatzlacha Rabba. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.